Beautiful. All right. Let's pray. Father, it's good to be here. This is exciting stuff today. We thank you for this chance to meet, to think. May we leave here wiser than we entered. And as we continue looking at what we've been talking about with technology and media and so on, Lord, help us to examine ourselves, to think about our own habits, but also think about how we might glorify you and bless others with what we do and how we do it. In your name, amen. Well, a quick bit of background here. Our guest today is actually someone that I've been talking to for a few months now, and things shifted in a positive way during the snow week. All right, so our guest today is a guy named Adam Lubanski, who graduated from here in 1988. And so I was going to have Adam speak in the What I've Learned Since BCS series. And then his chapel got snowed out during that third week in January. So he emailed the day before, I'm assuming, snow, we're not on. I said, yeah, I'll let you know, and I'll get back to you. Well, that was the week where I put together this technology and worship series. I had a flash, I had time to work, and so I put it together. And then when Adam and I started talking about, hey, when can you come back and when's it going to work, we started thinking, wait a minute, we're talking about technology. We're talking about what does it mean to live out our faith through technology and media. How do we bring a positive look at technology? What does that look like? I thought, wait a minute, here's a guy who's actually doing it. Here's a guy who's wrestling with all the things that we've been talking about, and he does it for a living. So I'm going to read you a bio about Adam here, and you'll recognize a lot of names here. Adam Lubanski is a creative leader with 15-plus years leading teams to design some of the best-selling consumer products and films on the market. His unique understanding of complex communication problems has made Adam a trusted partner in creating products and design for some of the biggest names in entertainment and business, including Warner Brothers, Nickelodeon, Disney, James Bond, Harry Potter, Microsoft, Dell, Nokia, Samsung, and many more. You may have heard of a few of those. As Vice President, Creative Director of Screen Life LLC, Adam created the visual design for Scene It, one of the best-selling board game brands in the world. While there, he led creative design for dozens of products, prototypes, and marketing initiatives to help build a multi-million-dollar-a-year business. Screen Life recently sold to Paramount Pictures. After leaving Screen Life, Adam founded Surround Media Incorporated, a motion graphics and design film with a focus on entertainment products. At Surround Media, he has created design for some of the biggest films to hit theaters in recent years, including Transformers 2, Charlie's Angels, Swordfish, Hancock, Eagle Eye, among others. When not making eye candy for Hollywood, Adam gets to create commercials, packaging, and product prototypes for corporate and entertainment clients around the world. Here's my point. He knows what's going on. And one of the cool parts about the conversation that Adam and I have had over the last month or so has not really been around what's chapel going to look like. We've been talking about these ideas of how do we live out our faith in these areas. What does it look like? How do we bring a redemptive view of media? How do we bring a redemptive use and view of technology to a world that needs it? Christians have the best story. How do we take that story and use what God has given us for such a time as this to do kingdom work? So Adam is going to speak today about these very things. He's got a lot of stuff to show you and so on. Just a couple little logistical things. Today is a technology-friendly chapel. So I just sent out about 15 minutes ago an email to every one of you saying, if you've got a question for Adam in chapel today, email me. So you can just reply back to that. My email address will be up there. And also I just sent out a tweet saying same thing. If you got a question, fire away. So Twitter is alive and well during chapel today. Email is alive and well during chapel. So as you have questions, we'll take those during the back end and maximize our time together. Okay? So would you give a warm welcome to Mr. Adam Lubanski?
Thanks. First, thanks for having me. This thing's going to fall off my head, but so if I keep, it's all right. Yeah, well, all right. That's good. Echo, echo. You got it? All right. So who here likes movies? And yeah, I do. A lot. So give me some of your favorite movies. Okay, over here, one person. Go. District 9, The Grinch. I heard Star Wars. Lion King. August Rush. Dear John. Okay. All right. That was a great exercise. I can't tell at all what anybody's saying. All right. So, who wants to tell me why they like movies? Like, you know why you go, kind of what you get out of it. Could raise a hand? Just somebody wants to answer? Go ahead.
Because they put you in a different world.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. So I think that is sort of the biggest thing about going to movies is you get this chance to go and escape from what you're doing. And what Mike said before, Christians have the greatest story to tell. The funny thing, now I couldn't hear what everybody was saying, is I didn't hear a lot of Christian movies in what you were saying. And I think there's probably a reason for that. Does anybody willing to talk about Christian movies and their general impression of them? Even one word. Say again? Corny, okay. Cheap, okay, it's another one. Anybody else? What kind of message? Great message, okay. Cheap, cheesy, I keep hearing that. I don't disagree with any of that. Okay. So I just made a Christian movie, which is kind of funny when I'm going to go through kind of my history since starting here at BCS, and going to get you to why I wound up making a Christian movie and why I'm a little bit surprised at that, and I might have some questions for you along the way. Mike did a good job of introducing me, some of the stuff that I've done. So the main thing, people ask, what do you do when you make movies or when I work on movies? And so I have worked on stuff with John Travolta and Hugh Jackman and all that stuff. And yes, I've been there and I've met actually a lot of these people. But what do I actually do? When people interact with a computer in one of those movies, so somebody goes up and you look at it and you go, computers don't look like that, or you made hacking look entirely too easy or doesn't look anything like that. Me and the people that I work with are responsible for making all that look like it doesn't actually look in the real world. So, and the first thing I'm going to show you here is, this is my reel, so it's sort of my resume. When people go, how good are you? Why should we hire you? Can you show us some of the stuff you've done? This is what I show them. And it's a little bit old, so it doesn't have a lot of the recent stuff in it. One other quick question. Who knows what Seen It is? Have you played the DVD movie game, Seen It? Oh, okay, cool. All right. Yeah, all right. Even got an arm pump. That's awesome. So I was creative director for Seen It. Meaning when the company was 4 people, I actually designed everything that you see in the game, the boxes, the stuff that goes on in the game. And for about 5 years I was there, so there were probably, when you count worldwide, there were about 60 different editions that I oversaw, a team of about 40 people getting that stuff done. So anyhow, this includes some of that and some of the movie stuff. Surround Media is my company. There should be audio here. Or not. Let's try again. Okay. So, a lot of this stuff is for the game. This stuff that I created for the movie Swordfish. A lot of interactive. Charlie's Angels. 6th Day probably wasn't as popular as this Schwarzenegger film about cloning. We're going to get back into a lot of seeing it and corporate stuff. This is for Turner Classic Movies. I didn't create Tinkerbell, we got that from Disney. Some new stuff. This is a bunch of things for Microsoft. A lot of Microsoft in this area, as you can imagine. A few Christian projects. This was actually really fun. A lot of filming for commercials. So that's about it. So, all right. So how to get here? Wind up making a Christian movie. So it started in 1988 when I graduated. And when I graduated, my parents had told me that they were going to do something really cool for my graduation. And I had this really crappy car. And I was very, very clear what I wanted for my graduation. And this is me in 1988, by the way. That's at the Berlin Wall, and we'll get to that in a second. So for graduation, what I had asked for was a Saab 900 Turbo, preferably SPG, which there's no way my parents would have bought that car to begin with. But they didn't get me that car. They actually sent me to Poland. So now the interesting thing about Poland and the Berlin Wall, so Poland is over here. Hey, where's my mouse? Oh, you can't see the mouse over there? Okay, so Poland's over here somewhere because I'm geographically challenged. But I was there, and it was still the Soviet Union at that point, so which was not at all like the U.S. I mean, everything there stopped. Pardon? Somebody's asking? Okay. Say, I don't care. It's for comedic purposes. It's better if I don't know. Everything there's kind of stopped in the 1950s in terms of architecture and industry and all of that. And so for me, it was like a third world country going over there. Like I had expected to be back, over here in Seattle with my friends. And what happened was I wound up leaving for Poland on the day that we were doing some senior class thing. It was a celebration of being done at the whole thing. So instead of being over here in Seattle, I was over in Poland. And I just thought, well, if I'm lucky, things will turn out okay for me, and it'll be a lot like this. But it turned out to be a lot like that. So it wasn't really anywhere near what I hoped. Now, the funny thing is, it was a missions trip. So I got to go with 30 people from across the United States that I didn't know, and we toured around for 3 weeks ministering. It was sort of like tourism ministry when we were there. So while I was enjoying that, I thought my classmates were doing this, and it was probably a little more like that, because it was the 80s, which I noticed your Tolo is pretty cool, that you get to be nostalgic for my heyday. Anyway, while they were doing that, we were on a bus, largely singing songs and talking to each other, getting to know one another, sweating a lot, kind of like I am right now, and talking to people about God. And one of the funny things is we spent a lot of time on a bus there. And on that bus, we had a bus driver, and that's this guy. And if I remember correctly, his name is Merrick, but it might have been like Bob or Tom or something. This poor guy, this was a bunch of really on-fire Christians, which I wasn't at the time. I wasn't not a Christian. I just wasn't an on-fire going on a missions trip kind of guy at that point. And I'm not now either. But everybody on that bus pretty much made it their mission to get this guy converted. So anytime they talked to him, the conversation was always steering back to Jesus and what he thought of his life, and what could you do? There was always some angle to get this guy to know Jesus. And by the end of the trip, I remember there being a talk about him actually accepting Jesus. And in my memory, I think he probably just did it to get people to shut up. And he was a nice guy, but so that was a really important memory for me when I went and did this. And the next thing was this. People who were in churches over there actually had something at stake when they went to church. It wasn't an okay thing in that society. Some people wound up in jail for what they did regarding the church. And it didn't have to be much. So when you gathered together, you had to be careful. It's not like you were hiding exactly, but you had to be careful what you said and what you did, or you could actually wind up in jail for it. And what was interesting to me at that point is God actually talked to me. And I don't feel like God very audibly says anything to me. I do have a way, where I do hear from God. But at this point, when I look back, it's surprising to me that God said anything. When I went on this trip, there's sort of this notion, I think my parents had this notion, is that you'd kind of catch the bug and go, I want to be a missionary, I want to be a pastor, that kind of thing. And I didn't catch that bug at all. In fact, I felt very, very clearly that what God said to me is, these people, they know why they're here. They hear about Jesus, and when they accept it, they go, we're on fire, we're doing it. And at the possibility of losing a good part of their life. Which is contrasted with what you can do in the United States or most of the westernized world at that time, which was just about anything. So you can spend your entire life latching onto good ideas, latching onto spiritual notions, even talking about Jesus and making Jesus' principles part of your life, but never actually truly experience him. And God said to me, it's weird for me to even say that, you're going to go do something about that in the United States to help clarify for people what it is that I am and who Jesus is and salvation and all that. And it's going to be through media. So that's 20 years ago. That's 1988. And I came back and literally, I have no idea what to do. It's like, am I going to make movies or whatever? Movies are expensive to make. They're difficult to make. They take a lot of people to get together. And so I set out with just this in mind. What does God want for me to do today? And it's something that I've done every day ever since. My wife is here. This is how we just make big decisions, is not doing the big picture thing. It's just going, do I have a relationship with God? What is the next thing that he wants me to do? If there's a decision in front of me and it's very clear that it's one that's big, let's ask God. Let's see what he says. And I'll tell you about how I hear that if you ever want to hear about it. But so what I did is I was already into media. I was doing some video stuff and I was doing some print work, so posters. Charlie Brown, I saw you here somewhere. Nice to see you. He was the art teacher when I was here. It's a long time, man. Anyway, I started doing work in youth conventions. Now, this is something I worked on a couple years ago, and I haven't actually worked on youth conventions for, 10 years or something. But after I left high school, I wound up doing this a lot. So stuff that goes up on the big screens, the posters for it. This is a bunch of stuff I did during that time. So it's, like 1993 through 97-ish. And the thing that was, what we were trying to do was do something on the idea of media as a missions tool that wasn't typical. One of the things that I keep finding is we keep telling the same story over and over and over again. When you watch a Hollywood movie, there are some genres, there are formulas. There's one big formula to film. And that big formula is, somebody's going through their life, wham, something hits them, they get into crisis, they find, something to get over that. There's the big high movement, and then everything crashes down on them, and then they overcome it, and you have this happy ending, which is why everybody's ticked off when you don't have a happy ending to a movie. Or, for the artsy type, you're really happy when there's not a happy ending. But that's not most of the audience, and those don't tend to sell very well. So we were trying to tell stories that were not typically what Christian interpretation of that is, in general, is somebody is down on their luck, they're obviously living an immoral life, and they turn to Jesus, and the climax of the movie is they come to Jesus, right? And then they have a little bit harder time in something that tests their faith, and they go, no, I'm going to live this, it's hard. And so that's the formula for Christian movies. And I would say 90% of the ones that you see coming out are on that formula. And it's a big problem. The other thing people mention is they're cheesy, low budget. There's reasons for those. Low budget is a whole different thing entirely, and I'm not going to get into that. But they're low budget because there's no money thrown at them. They genuinely are. That means you get cheap actors, cheap equipment, cheap crew, not able to review your scripts, that kind of thing. And those are things that we still haven't overcome. But we've overcome a lot of stuff in church media, which is, I think graphically we're in a good spot. I think musically we're in a little bit better spot. But the main thing is, we were not trying to go, we're going to do Christian media. We're just going to live as Christians in the world, keeping our worldview Christ-focused, regardless of what we're doing. So we're doing I'm doing all of this Christian media. I'm stuck in the church, preaching to the crowd, going, I'd really like to be doing something that was actually affecting the world. And I looked at what I was doing, and I go, some of this stuff is okay, but mostly it's crap. And I realized I was looking to the people around me, what we were doing in the church, and I was never going to get very good at what I was doing if I was looking at what we were doing in the church. I don't think that's completely true now, but there was a lot to be learned. And so I purposely, actually I got this next slide, I want to hit this. Okay. What Christians were doing at that point was largely derivative of other things. We were looking at Indiana Jones and Star Wars and the big blockbusters out there and going, I know, I'll do a spoof of that. And the spoofs are great. And if you go back here, there's some poignancy to the hope thing there. There's because you're referencing something in culture in a way that shifts it. But the rest of it is just taking somebody else's design and making it Christian, which, I don't know, I just thought we could do better. So I went out and I got a few jobs under mentors, people who would tell me that my stuff was crap before I put it out, helped me to figure out why, and get to the point where people would hire me on the merits of what I had done. And in that, I got to go do a bunch of stuff in Hollywood. Now, how did I get to go do that? I was in the right place at the right time, which was cool. And what I learned there is people work really, really hard. And people aren't on set thinking, I'm going to jam a message down your throat. They're there going, I'm going to tell a good story, and I'm going to do it as well as I possibly can. There were a bunch of people who said, I'm going to get excellent at what I do. And if you're on set and you're not doing excellently, you're out. If you have a bad attitude, you're out. And immediately, there's generally not a lot of warning that people give you. But what they do is, who saw Avatar? Yeah, I thought that movie, well, just about anything James Cameron does is going to be pretty amazing. And when I watched Avatar, I went, oh my goodness, I'm being preached at. The whole time I'm being preached at. But I don't care, because this is visually stunning. Because we're entertained, because we go there and we are escaping from what our everyday life is for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours if you're really good, you'll consume anything because it makes you feel good. I'll consume anything. So this is not a preach about seeing bad movies or anything like that. You've seen what I work on. I have a worldview that lets that be okay. I'm going to skip over a couple things here real quick. Seen it, you saw that. I got to work with a whole bunch of really great people. I learned how to lead teams of people there. Learned that I was pretty good at it. It was definitely setting up for making a movie. And when I left there, I God told me to sell this car I had that I really, really liked. It was a lot cooler than the Saab, and buy a camera. Now, I'd worked in doing a lot of commercials, doing little short films, and that kind of thing, but I really felt like God was telling me to hone my skills, and eventually he asked me to make a movie without necessarily giving me a clue what the movie was supposed to be about. So all of this here was in my mind, if you're reading it, about what your friends view your faith as, okay? When they're talking about this, when they talk about Christianity and who you are, they're talking about a view that is largely shaped by media, okay? Because I think if you're the kind of person who has no check when you say, I'm a Christian, then your friends probably are the kind of people who go, well, yeah, I have this generally negative view of Christians, but that guy, you, they're okay. So what we have is, I could go into this and I could derail pretty hard. One of the other things, by the way, is that I came across in the research is I always feel like there's an ulterior motive when a Christian has befriended me. They're just talking to me to get me converted, rather than just being the salt and light like Jesus asked us to be. Salt and light, by the way, I think everybody knows that, right? Preserves, keeps things from rotting, okay? The salt and light of the world, what people are using to influence their culture, that's movies, that's your music, that's all of that. What kind of salt and light are you being? And if you went and you looked at and listened to what you're listening to and watching, if you changed that and you said Jesus every other sentence, would that somehow make it Christian? Would that change the way that people were viewing the world? I don't think it would. I think there's something deeper than that. And when I went into making this movie, I didn't set out to make a Christian movie. What I set out to make was a movie that didn't harm, at the very least. That was something that was just a fun ride, where you go, you know what? Let's just watch the movie, come to the end of it, and go, cool. If you got a message out of it, because most good movies have something where you go, oh, that's cool. Then you would go, okay, so there's a worldview that's clearly a Christian worldview, but I enjoyed it. Did I earn the right to be heard? I'm going to skip over a couple of these here, but real quick, what is a Christian? Okay, Christian Bale, for those of you who don't know. All right. Okay, Christian in this world, that's me. There's no grander thing than that. Am I being faithful to my God? What does he want me to do today? It's not go out, change the world through media. It's doing what he asked me to do next. If God doesn't want you to go change the world through media, don't go do it. Just be listening to him. But what I wanted to make sure is we didn't have this sort of situation. Okay. So the next thing was, there's all these barriers to entry. I had watched friends forever go, I'm going to do a great movie. I'm going to do something great in music. And they never did it. And I felt like this was time where God was just saying, just do it. And the cool thing now is that technologically, things are in a very, very different spot than when I was in high school. To make a movie, it was, like the picture on the left. It was, there's more money in that shot. I'm not going to turn around, that echoes. There's more money in that shot than I spent on my entire movie. I made not just a Christian movie, I made a low-budget Christian movie. The thing that's interesting about it is that picture on the right, does everybody know House, the TV show House? Okay, the season finale for 2010 was filmed on cameras that cost less than $3,000. Okay, how many camera geeks know what the 5D is? Canon 5D? Yeah, there's a few over here. Okay, that changed the world. And I think the people here who are doing film with it know it. It made it accessible. You can actually, if you have a good story to tell, you know what you're doing, you can do it. You can actually afford it. You can afford the editing equipment. It's not the big suite over here. It's Apocalypse Now and Walter Murch, who's legendary. You can do it on your laptop. So I wanted to create a movie that comes from a Christian worldview, but doesn't preach. And this is the trailer for that movie.
You ready for this?
A diamond worth millions. No one's looking for it. We'd be nuts not to go for it.
I'm in.
How can that not be personal? You'll bankrupt me.
No way.
We're going to be digging under a foundation of a baptism tank that they're going to fill with water in only 1 short month. If we haven't put back all the dirt and repaired the cement by then, it will collapse. Whoosh. And splat.
For God's sake, been a Christian your whole life. It's the only way.
Dylan is a longtime Christian friend of mine.
Oh, well.
Anyone asks you anything you don't know, the answer is just Jesus.
The people here, they really care about you.
Well, the church. I'm not sure they'd be so friendly if they knew we were stealing from them.
You got a point.
What are you guys doing in there?
Guy stuff. It's the perfect place for an ambush.
Ready?
No. How long did you say we had?
Not long enough.
We're in trouble, man. Big trouble. Don't leave me!
Hi.
We've got to stay focused. Oh, really?
You did what?
Who would steal from a church, right?
All right. So I think, because we're running out of time, I'm just going to end it there. But my point was, it was kind of for me, it's an unexpected route to get to doing this. I thought 20 years ago this is what I'd be doing. But literally, step by step, just doing what God asked me to do today, we got to the point where we're making something that I think is different in Christian film. It certainly has elements that you could criticize in it. But we did it. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep going out and doing things that we hope are adding salt and light into the media that's out there. And the tools are at your disposal to do it. So if you're thinking about doing this stuff, you should. Don't wait 20 years. Anyway, I'm ready for questions. Okay.
So, how do you deal with the people who respond when they find out you're a Christian and they do the, oh, either personally, professionally, how do you respond to that? How do you not let that become a barrier or allow yourself to fall into a caricature of Christians or something like that?
Okay, well, people are going to think whatever they're going to think. I mean, when people say, first of all, people don't say that. It's generally sort of an inaudible, it's a body language sort of thing. I've actually been in meetings, actually several corporate meetings, where people get a little more personal and a little, you're working together for a long time and they'll just make jokes. And I've had this happen a few times where they'll make a joke and they'll go, oh, nobody's a Christian in here, right? Okay. And it's just really funny because they're afraid that they've offended the offendable Christian. And when that's happened, literally, because I had to think about this, where I go, because I used to be embarrassed to say I'm a Christian because of how people view him. I go, oh, I am. Okay? Like, for real. I don't preach Jesus in the whole thing. Like, and people go, I go, oh, no, I buy it like, hook, line, and sinker, Jesus, Savior, all that. Yeah. Cool.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Our culture is not getting friendlier to Christians. And
This is my wife, by the way.
And two things really that are big in that is they think you're judging them and they think you're going to get offended.
Yep.
And so if you just choose to be a kind person and have Christ work for you, that's going to go a lot further than worrying about judging them or being offended. Just try not to do either of those things and you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And this is one of the things that we did in making the movie, is that was actually a guiding thing. Treat people well, okay? People say, I don't have a problem with Jesus, I have a problem with Christians, okay? What would Jesus have you be? Are you consistently being that? And the thing that Jesus did, God, 2 commands, love me, love one another. Are you loving people? Are you respecting them? Or are you being judgmental? Are you lording over them and being, whatever it is, whatever your negative thing is that isn't Jesus, just be him. I mean, that's your response. There's no, yeah.
Have you ever had to do a Hollywood job that went against your beliefs?
No, because I didn't do a Hollywood job that went against my beliefs.
Was there ever a point, though, where you, like, particularly could it have been, hey, that's this could be a good stepping stone, or
Yeah.
you find a way to kind of fudge it or spin it, or
Well, there were two things. Well, I say I didn't do because when it came up, it was just, you just don't do that. Again, it's what would God have me do today? It's not looking at the bigger ramifications for my career or any of that stuff. The only thing that came close to that was Swordfish, which over 10 years has turned out to be one of the bigger calling cards of stuff that I've worked on, because a lot of people have seen that movie. And I think it came out really well, and of course there's objectionable things in it and all that. But I genuinely felt a check in my spirit. My wife's nodding over here for a good reason. I felt like God said, don't do this movie. And it wasn't over the normal Christian spiritual grounds. He didn't give me a reason. Well, it turned out to be financially devastating for me to work on that film. It took us years to dig out of working on that. Yeah.
what kind of special effects programs did you use to make the special effects stuff?
Okay. After Effects, we live and breathe in After Effects. Josh Morris, who's in the back of the room, is one of the people that works with me. Surround Media is a small company. We hire lots of freelancers. There's a core group of 3. Josh is one of them. We scale up to, when we were on the movie, we had up to 900 people working. But general work stuff is about, up to 25 people. After Effects is open on every desktop every day. 3ds Max, for those of you that know 3D programs. Photoshop permeates everything.
So you've got a group here, many of whom will not create as you are, but they consume daily. So what kind of, is there a guideline that you have in terms of the consumption part where you watch something beyond the Christian sort of moral code, this is good, this is bad, this makes it okay, this isn't? I mean, is there something deeper? I'm not saying that's all bad, but in terms of when you watch, when you consume, what goes through your head in terms of this is redemptive or not?
Right. I think that a lot of entertainment is just entertainment. A lot of people wouldn't agree with this. I think it's actually pretty neutral, a lot of it. Again, the movies I worked on, they're not ones that my parents would have approved of me even watching, let alone working on. So when I'm consuming, I would say the bar is pretty far as to what I'll consume, but where that line is comes from relationship with God and to going, you know what? My views, and this is why I think mass media matters, my views on this subject are changing. My views on this subject are changing to one that I know is not consistent with who God would have me be. Because I think we can all, there's willing suspension of disbelief. So you accept violence, you accept sex, you accept all of these things in your movies that you go, I know I would never do that. Well, how do your attitudes towards sex change the more you watch the world do that stuff? And when I find that the movies that I'm watching actually start to affect that in a way that I go, I'm not comfortable with that, I cut back. I've actually shut off a few movies in the last few years, surprisingly. So.
Kind of along these same lines, what is a single piece of advice you can give to teens to use in our daily lives? Or any piece of advice you can give.
You would say this too?
Yeah.
Watch your friends.
Watch your friends.
Watch your friends. Know your friends and have good friends that will be on to you.
Thank you. Okay, actually, yeah, that would be it. No, I can actually expand on that. How do you know what God's saying to you? Obviously, everybody has their way that they hear from God, but the other thing is, does it weigh against the Bible? Does it contradict what Scripture would say? Does the Scripture actually genuinely say something about what you're talking about? Don't do that thing if what you're thinking of doing is contrary to that. But the second one is, do you have people that you go to that you consistently, when you weigh their advice against the outcome of taking that advice, where you go, you know what, that was good. Have people that you can go to. Seek them out. And I'm not saying don't have people that aren't that. I'm saying you need to have people who are that. So anyway, thank you, Jen. Appreciate that.
All right. Adam's actually going to come back. There's a part 2 to this coming up in a couple of weeks, but we'll wrap it up today. Let's pray, and then we'll get you out of here. Lord, help us to be wise with what we see, what we contribute. Help us to be the kind of friend that can help people be discerning. Help us to be thinkers about media. Help us to be thinkers about technology. And ultimately, Lord, help us to use the technology that you have equipped us with as a platform to be salt and light, to be your hands and feet in a world that needs it. And help us to be loving, help us to be kind, and to tell the truth, because you are the truth. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this group. Pray for Adam and his continuing work in what he's doing and how he's doing it as well. In your name, amen.